With stunning alpine views and some of the country's longest ski runs, Mount Hutt is known as New Zealand's premier ski resort, which is located just a short 90-minute journey from Christchurch.
Online, there are mixed opinions. Some say it's amazing, others not so much. We're here to give you our honest thoughts based on years of skiing experience across Europe's top resorts. We've divided our opinion into 4 headings and we will point out the good and the bad.
So stick around until the end of the video to see if Mount Hutt really lived up to the hype.
Where to stay and how to get here.
Yes, there was a few choices, wasn't there, in terms of where we could stay. Because we had actually already booked our flights, we had a day spare before we went skiing, and we'd never actually been to Christchurch before, so we thought it would be cool to explore the city. So we decided to stay in Christchurch for our first day to do a bit of a city break. And then the second day, when we were actually skiing in Mount Hutt, we had the decision of whether we should move on to a place called Methven, which is actually a lot closer to the slopes, but still not particularly close. I think it's still a good half an hour in a car. So yeah, we had to do quite a lot of investigation about how we would get there. So obviously, to get from Christchurch to Methven and then on to Mount Hutt, we would have needed the expense of having a hire car. Actually, through some investigation, we found this thing called the Snowman Shuttle, which takes you from Christchurch city centre directly to the base of Mount Hutt. Yeah, and actually when we looked into it, it was really good value. So the Snowman Shuttle was only $30 per person return, and it's actually a 2-hour coach journey each way. So it is a considerable distance. The other thing which we didn't really appreciate until we did it is that as soon as you hit the mountain road, depending on the conditions, you are forced into hiring and fitting snow chains. So by taking the coach, again, the coach driver took care of all of that. We just sat nicely on the bus while that all got taken care of for us.
Yeah, so the coach left Christchurch at 7 a.m. from the centre bus station, which was only sort of 2-3 minutes from the hotel we were staying in. So it was nice and convenient. Basically, you get on board, you sit down, you put your ski boots and stuff under your seat, and skis, if you've got them, you can put them underneath the coach, and then you've got nothing else to worry about. Whereas with a hire car, you've got the faff of hiring the car, putting the snow chains on, which I've never done, to be perfectly honest, and then driving up this 14-kilometre road which has got sheer drops and ice and snow and all that sort of stuff. And then when you get to the top of the resort, there's several car parks, and if you don't get in the top of the car park, it's quite a considerable walk with all your ski gear on or your boarding gear on and stuff like that. So the bus literally drops you outside where the bottom of the first lift is and the shop is and all that sort of stuff. So it's just so much more convenient, I think. And yeah, it was a good option for us because we wanted to do a city break on the first day. So yeah, obviously we didn't stay in Methven, so we can't comment on what that town's like, but from what I've seen on the map, it looks pretty small, so we don't know what sort of facilities are there, and you know, in terms of that sort of stuff, amenities and stuff. Costs involved, lift passes and ski rentals.
So if you just go for one day to Mount Hutt, it's 175 New Zealand dollars just for the day. But the more days you purchase, the day rate decreases on a sliding scale. We actually intend to ski a bit later in the season as well. So we decided to go for the New Zealand Ski Super Pass, which gives you access to 10 different mountains across New Zealand. We have purchased 4 days, and that has taken it down to $135 a day. And if you buy more than 6 days, then that would make it the cheapest price possible, which is $120 a day. Then in terms of the rental, that's super easy because it was all just at the bottom of the mountain, exactly where the coach dropped you off. If you wanted to hire the complete full rental package for skis, boots, poles, helmet, that's 65 New Zealand dollars a day. We've actually already got some of our own equipment, so we only needed to hire skis, and that was at a cost of $35 a day. And they did throw in free overnight storage as well for that. And that was pretty handy actually, because then obviously we didn't have to lug the skis back to Christchurch to the city centre, and then they were just there ready for us the next day.
And the skis and stuff, they're the same as any other ski resort. You have beginner skis, intermediate skis or advanced skis at no extra cost. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure it was all just a flat rate.
And if you book your ski passes or your lift passes and your hire online, literally where you get dropped off by the Snowman shuttle, there's a car park style machine there where you scan your barcode and it spits out your plastic lift passes like any other lift pass wherever you ski in Europe or America, and your ski hire and everything is loaded on there. But most importantly, book online, because what that allows you to do is avoid going to the queue at the guest services, which on occasions on the Sunday, which was our first day skiing, was absolutely massive. So by booking it online, not only is it really convenient by collecting from the machine, but it just avoids missing all those queues and stuff. So yeah, and once you've got your lift pass, as I say, that's got your ski hire or your boot hire or whatever loaded on there, you literally then go into the hire shop, don't you, and present your lift pass to the person who scans it, and then they ask you, what you need in terms of equipment and fit your boots to your skis and bindings and stuff like that. So it was all pretty straightforward, so pretty seamless. Really.
Yeah.
So yeah. Quality of skiing, the snow and the terrain. So the quality of the skiing, the snow and the terrain. Well, surprisingly, we actually had a really good time and the snow quality was really good. Obviously that is very, very weather dependent on when they have snow, how much snow they've had throughout the season, but we were quite fortunate because on the couple of days leading up to when we was going to leave, they'd had a nice fresh dump of snow. So when we got there on the Sunday morning, it was all nice, and there'd been not fresh snow overnight, but there'd been a top up of what they already had. So there was plenty of snow there. There was no bare parts of the pistes at all or surrounding terrain. It was absolutely really, really great and surprisingly good. One thing I will say is, if you're going to ski in Mount Hutt for a couple of days, certainly obviously it depends on your ability, but for us, people that have skied in numerous resorts in Europe and stuff like that, there is sufficient skiing in my opinion for a good couple of days skiing. But if you're going to be there for an extended period of time, then it may be a little bit limiting, because it's just basically a bowl where there's lots of runs coming off of it and just 2 lifts? 3 main lifts.
Yeah, 3 main lifts, yeah.
So yeah, if you're going to be there for an extended period of time, then it may be a little bit limiting. So yeah, the snow was pretty good, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I think we've probably skied on worse snow in Europe. And yeah, surprisingly from what we've heard some negative stuff about ski resorts in New Zealand, but it was a real surprise and a real good time we had, I thought, skiing. Yeah, so in terms of one thing I will say, on the Monday that we were skiing, in the morning it was very cloudy, the visibility was next to nothing, it wasn't particularly nice skiing. One thing I would say of note, if you're not a particularly confident skier or you're used to skiing in resorts maybe in America or Europe, they have very clearly marked pistes with piste markers every 20-30 yards each side of the piste. That is not like that in New Zealand. They very much just have a groomed piste and then very few markers. There may be a bit of purple spray that they put, but to be honest, when the visibility was as bad as it was on Monday morning, you could barely see where you're going, and you could quite easily, if you were inexperienced, ski off the edge of the piste, and obviously then you can end up being anywhere. So yeah, that is just something to note. But thankfully on the mid-morning on the Monday, the clouds lifted, they disappeared, and then we had a lovely afternoon of skiing. But yeah, it could be a bit daunting and just a bit daunting for people that are not that experienced, and there's no clear reference points as to where you are, or if you're on a piste, or if you're going to ski off the edge of a piste or whatever. So that's just one thing to note. So yeah, there's 3 main lifts in the resort. There's Summit 6 chair, there's Tower Triple chair, and there's Norwest Express. The Summit 6 chair obviously says Summit, it takes you all the way to the top. On the Sunday we were there, because the weather was absolutely, it was a bluebird day. It was absolutely rammed. Some of the queues were absolutely horrendous, like 20, 30 minutes at times, which was, which we're not used to. We are sometimes used to queuing, but nowhere near that amount of time. So yeah, it can be a little bit, I guess, of a weekend or school holidays. It can be very busy, very packed. So my advice would be potentially to try and avoid those times. But other than that, I feel, the quality of skiing and the area is certainly big enough for what we went in a couple of days.
Yeah, no, I think we were pleasantly surprised. Obviously, we're used to skiing in Europe, but it exceeded my expectations.
What's the food and facilities like?
So what did we have facilities-wise in the resort? It was pretty decent, actually. There was an Aperol spritz bar up the mountain, which I really enjoyed. There was a mountain lodge, which had an open fire and mulled wine, and felt, a little bit kind of like a European alpine style thing. It was pretty cool. And actually the quality of the food was really good as well. And then they had a big cafeteria canteen as well, where you could get coffee, hot chocolate, pizza, chips for lunch, sandwiches, and actually they did have some healthier options as well, like salads and things. So it wasn't all beige food.
So that whole area is just one big building, isn't it? The restaurant, the top floor restaurant, and then there's an underneath restaurant, cafeteria area, and off of that there's like a big sort of seating area where everyone can eat their lunch. That's all part of one building. So there is just one restaurant on the mountain, but I feel like on the Sunday it was particularly busy. On the Monday not so much, because there was less people there. But yeah, overall it was not too bad. One thing I will say is that, which is quite rare in a European ski resort, is that they allowed people to take their packed lunches and consume it within the canteen there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which is quite rare, because usually they're like, no picnics allowed. They didn't allow. I did notice the top floor restaurant, they did have a sign where it said you can't consume your own food, but in the downstairs seating canteen area, they did allow that, so which I thought was good, because there was lots of people that brought their own packed lunch. But yeah, in terms of pricing, I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head what we paid for the food we had. I think one day we had a pizza, and then another day we had something else. But certainly the Aperol Spritz ice bar, which was halfway up the mountain, I think we paid $16 per Aperol.
There was a deal. Well, I don't know if you call it a deal, but if you got two, then it was $15 instead of 16 each. And I'm pretty sure the pizza was a similar price, about $16. So yeah, again, I didn't think it was too unreasonable, given they've got a captive audience, and that's literally the only place that you can dine unless you've taken your own packed lunch with you. So I thought it was pretty reasonable. So
yeah, and in terms of the other facilities, there was a shop there where they had a huge selection of gloves, hats, all that apparel that comes with skiing. And that was pretty good, wasn't it? And then so the shop was well stocked and had lots of stuff that you could buy. In fact, I bought a couple of stickers and a travel poster, which is one of the things that we like to collect. But yes, that was great. Toilet facilities. I think there was a couple of toilet facilities, one inside the restaurant, or two restaurants, or picnic area, and then there's actually a main toilet just where we got off the coach at the entrance to the entrance to the whole resort, really. So in terms of facilities, they seem to be reasonably clean. I used them on a couple of occasions. Obviously, they've got hundreds of people going through them on a daily basis, but they seem to be kept in a reasonable condition. It's not such an issue for me, but more of an issue for you. But yeah, overall, I thought the facilities for the resort were pretty good, to be honest. So what are our overall thoughts on skiing at Mount Hutt? Well, coming from Europe or the UK, where we're used to skiing in Europe, where you've got some of the huge resorts like Three Valleys in France or Val d'Isère, which have got really great facilities and stuff, we're a bit sceptical, and we've heard lots of different things about, New Zealand ski resorts, people just saying, oh, it's just a ski field, it's going to be rubbish. I was actually blown away, to be honest, because Not in terms of the size of the resort, because as I say, I think there was enough skiing for a couple of days for me personally, someone who's a reasonably competent skier. But the quality of the snow, and that's very weather dependent, but the quality of the snow, the runs that we did, I thought there was some easier runs, there was some particularly challenging runs and stuff like that. But I was dead chuffed with the weather, the snow, not so much on the Sunday with the queues, but that is what it is. It's a busy weekend with nice weather, so I was quite happy with, you know, what it was like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, pleasantly surprised. Obviously, like we said, we had a few expectation management things before we went, so that definitely exceeded my expectations. It was a great weekend.
So yeah, if you are thinking about going skiing at Mount Hutt and you've never skied in New Zealand, or you've skied at other resorts in New Zealand and you're not sure about this one, I would definitely recommend it, give it a go. And also you could bolt on a couple of days or a day or so in Christchurch and use the Snowman shuttle, because I thought that was a pretty hassle-free way of getting to and from the resort, being dropped at the door without the hassle of a hire car parking and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I would thoroughly recommend trying Mount Hutt and giving it a go.
Definitely.
So obviously a lot of the content so far on this channel is about the van build, which is just out there and still working on, nearly done. But yeah, we are trying to do some more travel type content, vlogs, etc. Just because that's what we're quite passionate about, traveling and stuff like that. And if we can help you out in the meantime by giving you some information that we've found out about certain places, then we intend to do that. So this is what this video is all about. But obviously, if you do like the content that we put out, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. There is lots more to come, and we'll see you again soon.